Alright guys, Tactical Rab here, back again today, and this video I am recording long in advance. As you guys are watching this, I might be on a plane, or I might have just landed, because I'm going to San Francisco in a week from when I'm recording this video, just with my family for a nice little week holiday before the end of the year, which will be very, very nice indeed. But I wanted to pre-record some videos to make sure you guys still have content every single day, and I'm trying to make sure I can upload a video every single day this year, because that would be a good goal to hit at the very least. So today, I wanted to talk about a few different things. Mainly, I wanted to discuss the topic of experience in Call of Duty, and to what degree it matters. A couple of things I wanted to discuss firstly before we get into that, but yeah, leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. If anything drastic and crazy has happened in the community over the last couple of days, I'll make sure I cover that in tomorrow, or as soon as is feasibly possible. I'll still be making videos while I'm out in the States for that week, because, you know, I might as well. There's interesting things to happen. I enjoy it, and I'm sure you guys enjoy it too. Well, at least hopefully. It's probably why you're watching. Let's hop into it then. A few things to discuss. Firstly, I wanted to talk about this point that, this is obviously a long time ago I tweeted this, but I never really talked about it. So I wanted to run it past you guys and see if you had any thoughts on it. Modern Warfare's attachment selection is really in depth, right? We have so many attachments on all the guns, so many stock different variants, you know, different barrels, different underbarrel attachments, different sights. Like, what is the best, right, in different situations? You've even got the monolithic suppressor, which extends your range. So what I've found playing the game and game battles and all of these things, people use a lot of different you know, attachment selections on their weapons. And the M4, of course, right now, at least as of recording this video, is the strongest weapon in the game. Who knows, maybe it's been nerfed by the time this video comes out. The Kilo will be the strongest. But what I've noticed really with the M4, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to attest to this, is that depending on the situation, people will use different attachments on the M4. In the past games, though, this didn't have to be the case. For example, you could have a close range M4, you could not change the barrel, or you could put on a different type of barrel, which doesn't necessarily increase the range that much. You could put the no stock attachment on, you could put a really quick, like, underbarrel attachment. And you can have a gun which is really fast-paced, you can aim down sight really quickly. Maybe you don't bother to put a reflex on it or a sight on it at all. You've got a really fast-paced M4, effectively operates like you know, like an SMG almost. Then you can have a mid-range M4. Maybe you put the Corvus Custom barrel on it, so it gets a significant range increase, but not incredibly significant, doesn't slow down your movement too much. Then you can put on an underbarrel attachment, which maybe, you know, increases the, or decreases the recoil by a little bit. And then, of course, you can have your really long-range M4, where maybe you put the monolithic suppressor on to really extend the range. You put on a further zoomed-down sight. You put on the M16 Grenadier barrel. You put the M16 stock on it as well to really slow it down, really slow down the aim down sights time and the speed, but make it have really low recoil and can absolutely beam people across the map. Now, these three different M4 variants are something that wouldn't be possible in previous editions of the game. In the past, if you wanted a long-range assault rifle, you'd need to use the ICR or something similar. If you wanted a mid-range assault rifle, you need to use the Maddox, or you need to use, say, in Black Ops 3, the Man of War, or the HVK, or the MA, or something like this. And if you wanted a close-range assault rifle, you'd use, like, the HVK or something, or you'd just use an SMG. However, in Modern Warfare, the M4 and a load of other guns, the M4 is the best gun overall, right? Because at least at the current time of making this video, because it has all the right attributes. It's heavy hitting, but not like incredibly heavy hitting. Its rate of fire is really high for an assault rifle. It has relatively low recoil. It's kind of a jack-of-all-trades great gun. It's the middle of the road, but it's fantastic at everything that it does. The fact that you can use so many attachments to make it even better than it already is in so many different ways means that you never really have to use another gun other than the M4, especially unless you have unless you want the specific advantages that an MP5 or an MP7 might give you in terms of SMGs. Which really means that in Black Ops 3 days, yes, Ban and Protect had some impact, but we did used to have the Man of War, the HVK, the Shiva, the XR2 was even used, but probably just because of the Ban and Protect, the M8 of course as well, and all these guns were used in that game because they were really well balanced, but also because they fit different niches. However, with the M4 in this game, you can change all the attachments to make them all fit your niches, and look, I don't know whether this is a bad thing, but I just thought it was an interesting discussion point that effectively the M4, in my estimation, is going to be the only gun you need to use, because you can make it a short range or a long range assault rifle depending on what you need because of all the attachment selection. So in my opinion, attachment variety has replaced weapon variety. Whether that's good or bad, who knows? We can discuss that going forwards. So let's get on to the topic I really wanted to talk about today, and that of course revolves around coaching to some degree, but also experience. So TJ tweeted this out yesterday as a recording. Coaches get paid to sit in a lobby and record the minimap. Thought this was pretty funny. Of course, he's not necessarily taking a dig at some people, but maybe to some degree. And he's saying, okay, no, well, coaches don't really do that much. Who knows? TB says, I need therapy from dealing with our last team. I miss it, not gonna lie, it was good times. Fun times besides Miami. Y'all sucked. And okay, so there's some comments about this on the Reddit. I see what he's saying on the surface, but don't they do work with data and info? Aren't coaches doing all the extracurricular, so players like TJ just have to exist in game and they're fulfilling contracts? And okay, yes, there's just some discussion here. Coaches, analysts are in likelihood doing the behind the scenes data work. Some people replied to TJ's comments saying like, you know, Bobel, Revan, these sort of guys, obviously they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Crowder, of course, doing a similar thing, and maybe TJ's just bantering around to some degree. But of course, coaches do have some role behind the scenes, and I thought this kind of led quite nicely into the idea that most coaches in the scene are older guys that have been around a long time, the likes of Josh, the likes of Op2, of course, on the Paris team. The London team, you see something similar. Pretty much all the teams that have coaches pretty much follow this recipe. I mean, it might be slightly different in terms of Dallas. You've got Mutex on that team as the S&D analyst, not really a coach though. And, you know, on another team, for example, like OpTic Gaming LA, got Sender released as rumored at the current time. It may be confirmed by the time this video goes live. Wanted to talk about then to what degree experience matters. So these are the teams for the upcoming season in the CDL, and there's many different ways that these teams have been organized. There's some teams, especially Atlanta FaZe, which is really the big one, which is effectively just stacked with young talent and talent that doesn't really have a clear leadership figure, but could potentially be incredibly strong on paper. So really the question came to mind, like, to what degree does experience matter in these teams, and to what degree is that going to help going forwards? And by experience, I kind of mean a player like a JCap is the kind of guy that comes to mind, right? Doesn't necessarily have the ability and the cracked out nature and the gun skill and the movement ability to keep up with the young kids nowadays, but of course he does have a boatload of experience and experience winning championships, and he's not going to buckle under pressure, and he knows how to play the game, and he's going to be a great coach to other players. To what degree does that matter in the modern day? So I wanted to go through some results from the last few years of play, or from the World War II season and the Black Ops 4 season, and just see what you guys thought about it, and to what degree this is going to matter in this upcoming season. In my opinion, it probably depends on the game. A guy like Jacob in a game like this, honestly, we know that Modern Warfare is not necessarily designed for the most skilled player. They literally said that they made the time to kill fast so that players can get easy kills, just to, you know, getting them into the swing of things. So look, I think a game like this, a boots on the ground title, a game like World War II as well, will probably favor those slower paced guys that have been more traditional in Call of Duty, that aren't necessarily the Black Ops 4 cracked out young guns. Probably favor those guys a little bit more than we've seen in the past. So honestly, I think that a guy like JCap could still be a solid player in addition to all the other things he brings. So in my opinion, experience is very important. I think that Atlanta FaZe, given the fact that they have Crowder on their team, is going to be an important factor for them in terms of getting the most out of these 5 guys. If it was just these 5 guys as like effectively S&D stars, with all the talent they have, I think they would struggle to be an absolute championship contending team. Then again, of course, the way the season is operating this season, effectively we just have like a mid-season playoffs and then a world championship at the end of it, which kind of is difficult to say whether these guys are going to struggle in effectively the LAN scrims, right? But when it does come down to a championship, maybe a grand final, something like that, the experience of like an Aches or, you know, a JCap or a Crim6 or any of the OGs is probably going to separate them from the rest. In my opinion, I think Crowder could have a lot to do with making sure Atlanta FaZe doesn't fall into that trap. So let's have a look effectively at how the matches and the championships have gone over the last year or so. So here we go then. This is way back in the day now, almost, it seems. This is the Dallas event way back in the World War II season. First event was won by Theory, Accuracy, Chino, and Kenny. So Theory and Accuracy and Chino pretty much OGs on that team. The second event as well was won by the same squad. Luminosity came in second with JCap up there. Look, I mean, most teams, of course, back in these days were organized in the vein of having some young guys, some new guys, tended to be mixed with some older talent. And I think that recipe was made for a reason. And really, this Atlanta FaZe team is the first team ever to go away from that traditional format. So that's what's most interesting here. So, of course, okay, this is Atlanta, I think, Looney, TJ, Methods, and Gunless. So Looney, pretty experienced guy on this team, and Methods, of course, been around a long time. Then this is at Birmingham, where JCap and John, they won this tournament, of course, on Luminosity. So yeah, clearly I think experience makes a difference. I just wonder how much difference you think it will make going forwards, because of course in the Black Ops 4 season, which we'll have a look at in a second, slightly different deal. But I think as you can kind of see over time, most of these teams that are winning the championships and doing very well and being the top teams are squads that have a mix of young talents, the likes of Kenny, the likes of Priester, and guys that have been around a long time, the likes of TJ Gunless in this example, but also Looney and Slash have been around several years. This is at Anaheim, I think, so we've got similar teams that are coming up at the top. This is at the Stage 2 playoffs. We've got Kenny, we've got Ferro in the team at this point. Then we've got the World Championship, of course, where, Assault, Apathy, Aches, and Silly end up walking away with it, with Team Caliber also being strong. Then we go into the Black Ops 4 season, and then we see the following. We've got Dashi and TJ on the OpTic Gaming team, mixed in with some older, more experienced veteran talent, the likes of Crimsix, Karma, United, a similar deal. It's very rare to see a team that doesn't have this mix of, old guns and new guns, I guess. Even Team Sween here, right? Quicker, Weeman, Nolson, Dylan and Brain at the time. Quicker, a guy who's been around a very long time. Then we've got this Luminosity win at Fort Worth. Of course, we've got some pretty veteran players on the team, especially Formal, Classic and John, especially here. It's really difficult to say that that experience doesn't count. And I feel like if you had a team with, Kenny, Priester, and then you just had the other three players having also been similar level talents, who had been around a relatively short time, but done a lot in terms of their career, would they have done as much in their career if they didn't have such a veteran support, I guess, on the squad? So I suppose that's thoughts for you down in the comment section below. I suppose this team of Gen G is really the only one of the last season that didn't necessarily have the veteran talent. Now, of course, Havoc, he's been around a very long time, as has Nagafen, since the Advanced Warfare days for these guys. But you wouldn't consider them veterans and experienced quite in that sense. They're not quite the type of players that you think of when you think of veterans. But I guess they also have still been around a very long time and have played Call of Duty for very many years. Going back, of course, to this, the Atlanta FaZe team, this is a squad of players that really have not been around that long. Priester maybe has been around the longest, at least in competitive play, probably since Infinite Warfare, something like that. But apart from that, it is difficult to say that there's so much experience on these teams. But yeah, be interested to hear your thoughts down below. And of course, right at the end of the year, United end up winning the back-to-back Miami and champs when they have Abizi and Simp, incredible young guns, mixed in with Claystrastes and Pristini. So that's why when I look at these teams this season, the teams I'm mostly looking out for are the likes of the Dallas Empire, OpTic Gaming LA, teams that have a mix of the older experience, but also the younger talent. I think those are the teams that tend to do the best. The real question is whether a team like Atlanta FaZe, with all this young talent stacked up, can start to show some incredible things, or, to what degree is Crowder as a coach and as someone pretty integral in their team dynamic going to be responsible for ensuring that experience and that calmness comes into play. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate your thoughts and insight down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. I'll see you next time.